He didn't deserve what happened to him. But he brought it on himself. My primary sympathies are with those he took with him. I would say their names, but it's only going to make me upset.
All right. It's been way too long of a gap between the last video and this one. I did not plan on that. Unfortunately, in between, not only did I get COVID, I made filmed an entire video that was a retrospective look back review and just commentary on the Hell House LLC franchise. And I just hit like some content creator block, editor block, I don't know, something. I couldn't push it through and finish that, get past it. I think the fact that the 5th one comes out on Halloween on Shudder was like... Anyway, so what's the best cure for content creation, writer's block or whatever? Just move on to another project and do something completely different and new. So that's what I decided to do, and that's what we're doing here. So if you've taken the time to scan over my channel or look at this thumbnail or see the content I make, you could probably pick up that I'm a pretty big fan of analog, found footage, meta, mockumentary, documentary, horror storytelling. I absolutely love. I eat that shit up. And what is an 8-film franchise that has been shockingly successful for what it is, being a horror anthology found footage series that I think deserves a lot of respect? That's right, VHS. So I decided to commit for like a special Halloween video would be a review or explanation or discussion or just, giving my opinion on every single segment from each VHS movie, from VHS 1 all the way to VHS Halloween. And what is a tried and true internet content creation method when you're doing a mass review like that? That's right, I'm going creatively bankrupt and I'm doing a classic internet tier list, baby. But yeah, that's right. I will be doing a tier list of every single VHS segment. Got the cards all ready to go right here. So stick around. So jumping right in here with VHS 1, and for those who are uninitiated or might not know anything about these movies, although I doubt it, but I'll explain anyway, they're set up with a wraparound segment, which is like a story in and of itself. In the first movie, Tape 56, it is a group of hooligans that, honestly, VHS 1 kind of starts a little because they just like openly assault a woman, and it's kind of like, this isn't feeling that fun. But essentially these misfit street kid hooligans who are bad people get hired to break into some old man's house and steal, I think, a bunch of videotapes. And as they find them, one of the crew like watches them. And as they watch the tape, that's the short films that make this up. And for VHS 1, the wraparound segment is, like I said, tape 56. And rewatching VHS 1, the wraparound segment was actually longer than I remembered. There was more to it. But at the end of the day, it was still pretty like, kind of like where it's going to lead once like the first guy goes missing and dies after like watching the tapes consecutively. Like they're all going to die one by one and not make it out. And you don't really care because they're not great people. Pretty middle of the road. It's an interesting way to like establish the idea of this franchise. But other than that, like in rewatch, it wasn't that great. Other than that, it's pretty milquetoast. It's pretty meh. So tape 56, the wraparound segment, I will give it a solid C. But following up the start of the wraparound segment, we get Amateur Night, which is like the first big fan favorite, and I think like one of the shorts within this franchise most people identify with it, which is essentially the story of like another group of bro-ish type hooligans. This time the gimmick is they have a spy camera, pair of glasses, which was at the time much more of a novelty and not just a mainstream thing. We essentially follow these guys as they go and try to pick up chicks at a bar, and then eventually get more than they bargained for when they pick up a strange acting woman who kind of like just repeats what they say back at them. If I remember right, I don't think she like has like an original thought. She just says like I said, parrots back what she hears and acts almost like bird-like and is really weird. You eventually get the reveal that she is some sort of vampire thing. I know the movie that eventually got made based off of this short is called Siren, so I'll call her that. I'll call her a siren. She's just like some monster that I guess feeds off of men, and I think the main character is even implied to be a virgin, so that might be part of it. But yeah, it's great. It's really well made, especially for the found footage style. It really takes advantage of that, especially with its ending and the way it flies off. The bro-ishness and like my annoyance with the main characters kind of did hold it back a little bit for me, which is why I would give Amateur Night a very respectable, solid A.
Gorgeous.
Might not have written a script this time, but I did take copious notes, so give me a second here. Next up is Second Honeymoon, which is actually made by Ty West, who's a pretty big deal, I guess, now. Second Honeymoon sets up something that these movies will do periodically, which is present a found footage short that isn't supernatural or like anything like that in nature. It's just like presenting what is essentially a real life snuff film. This one, Second Honeymoon, is the tape of a couple, and this one is also very like mumblecore indie, like early 2000s, if you remember that period in time in like New York independent filmmaking. Just very matter of fact, honestly kind of boring. There's one interesting bit where like they go to the plot, let's get into it. It's just a couple going on vacation, and then eventually, someone is stalking them that breaks into their hotel room, records them with their own camera, fucks around with them. They keep coming across a woman following them, I guess. And then they stab the husband to death on camera, only to reveal that the wife was in on it with her lover, I guess. And this is, like I said, a real life snuff film. It's fine. It's not great. Honestly, I was kind of just bored watching it, even like the first time, I think, when I first saw it as a much younger man, and now on rewatch, I was just kind of like waiting for it to be over. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a misstep. I think when VHS franchise is at its worst, honestly, is these segments, maybe with the exception of one, which we'll get into. But yeah, when they just try to present a real matter-of-fact snuff film, I kind of lose interest a bit. So this is a D. Very much a D. But Second Honeymoon is followed up by what I think is actually a pretty enjoyable little mini slasher film called Tuesday the 17th. You get it? And this essentially follows a woman who has baited in a bunch of her high school friends to go out into the woods, where it's slowly revealed like she was there a year earlier when a bunch of her real true friends were massacred, and now she's bringing up these like stereotypical like high school slasher characters to bait out the slasher villain to try to get her revenge. I kind of like that setup. I think it's a neat concept. The way the slasher villain is presented, I kind of like the meta-ness aspect of how he doesn't show up on camera. Like there's some supernatural thing about him, but at the end of the day, he's just kind of a woodsman Jason slasher type, which, is fun. I like little short horror things like this, especially presented meta found footage style. So this one was very much my jam. It didn't do anything too crazy or unexpected other than like the meta-ness of she can't film him. So, as like a quaint little enjoyable slasher short film, I very much loved Tuesday the 17th. I think it's pretty great, and I would give it a solid B.
I like it, Picasso.
All right, I did not really enjoy this sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger. Not just because I keep having to read that title to remember it, but also because, it is the only segment in the VHS franchise that's like a computer screen life movie like Unfriended, which is actually interesting now, thinking that no one's tried to do that again in these movies. But it's like, it sets up that this woman's haunted, Emily's haunted, and she's talking with her boyfriend, and that's how it's presented for most of the time. So you're like, okay, what's the payoff, what's the reveal? And they try to do this wild twist ending, which is, it's not ghosts, it's actually aliens, and they've like implanted her with eggs, and her boyfriend she's been talking to for help the whole time is actually in cahoots with the aliens, like a secret human alien hybrid plot out of like X-Files, but I don't get why the aliens are presented like ghosts or poltergeists. Like, they even look like children. I didn't vibe with this. I wasn't a pretty big fan, and honestly, this was another misfire for me. I didn't give it an F just because, it is well made. There is actual filmmaking going on behind this. They tried. They put in some effort. And, Screen Life. It's interesting it's the only Screen Life one in the whole franchise. So, yeah, Emily. Unfortunately, that's a D. And now we move on to what is for sure the best segment in VHS 1. October 31st, 1998. Made by Radio Silence, the guys who successfully resurrected the Scream franchise. And I like their movies. Ready or Not is also great. I can't wait for that sequel. But this little horror short they made for VHS is a really personal favorite of mine in the whole franchise. And I'm going to go ahead and say now, it is our first S tier. I love this one. I love the concept of like some drunk guys hanging out Halloween in costumes, going into the wrong house that they think is their party and stumbling upon a real like demonic exorcism and real supernatural shit. Great idea. Love the way it's done. Love the way it's set up. Personally, for me, I would have kept like the joke happy ending as like the official ending. I get why you ended it with, them all dying. I get it. It's horror. But sometimes I like when everyone survives as a nice little twist. But just everything about this short is great. If you have no interest in watching the VHS franchise, but you're watching this video, I highly recommend at the very least checking this short out. I think you'd really like it. It's a great segment. It's a lot of fun. It's well acted. I love like the twists and turns and the way the like supernatural stuff in the house looks, especially with the arms coming out of the walls. It's great visuals, especially on like this old like found footage style camera. I don't know. I love it. This is our first S tier. Okay, so in summary, this is VHS 1. We actually have a pretty good sampling. We kind of run the whole gambit here. S to D. No Fs. Which we won't see for a minute, but we will. So yeah, if you're looking for like solid Halloween horror viewing and you've never seen VHS or have a bunch of people who haven't, I would really recommend the first VHS. Like I said, it runs the gambit. People's opinions are probably much different than mine, but let's go ahead and move on to VHS 2. This chair really isn't that comfortable, which sucks. But here we go, VHS 2, and we're starting with the wraparound segment, tape 49, which is another one of these someone getting hired to steal some VHS tapes or something from someone's property. This time, a private detective and his cute younger assistant. And this is essentially just an elevation and a much better done version of the first movie, where instead of like a bunch of random street hooligans who are unredeemable and not great people and deserve what you get a somewhat scummy private detective and his innocent assistant who are hired to rob this house. And there's much more of a plot in tape 49 than tape 56. Like, there's a whole thing where, so essentially the private eye and this girl got hired by a woman to find her son, I think, and they track him down to this house, and once they get in there, they don't find him, but they find like his computer and a bunch of old TVs and like VHS tapes that he's been digitizing, and a recording of him talking about the tapes a little bit. And then she, the assistant, starts playing them as the private eye searches the house. And that's the framing here. We get the segments in this movie as she watches more files that this guy they're trying to find is digitized. And, there's much more plot here. There's much more stuff going on. It's better acted. I was much more intrigued and interested in it. Let me read my notes real quick. Oh, yeah. I also wrote that the ending of this, like, this would have been C. This would have been just like tape 56 if it wasn't for the ending of this one, which is great. It's a great punchline to credits and like reveal and whole wrap up of this entire movie. I thought it really made a nice little button on the experience. And so that's why I think Tape 49 actually gets elevated to a B.
Hey, I like it, Picasso.
And I might want to just put this in here. I'm not going to like fully explain the plot of all of these because I don't want to exactly spoil the ending of this if people end up watching it, but I liked it. I really enjoyed it. And there's other things that other segments that I really enjoyed or think it's better to protect them. And there's others I'll just fully spoil or just talk. I'm riffing here, guys. I'm riffing. Speaking of, moving on to Phase 1 clinical trials. So Phase 1 clinical trials is actually interesting. It feels almost like an evolution of Amateur Night from the first one, but just, you know, it's not A in my opinion. I guess I might as well say that out of the gate. But, you know, it's solid. It's essentially the story of a guy who gets an experimental new, like, synthetic eye surgically implanted into his skull. And through that eye, he starts being able to see ghosts. And when he first gets the eye installed, he also happens to notice a woman in the same hospital who later reaches out to him and reveals that she has a very similar thing with like an ear implant. And, you know, the setup being that the more you pay attention to the ghosts, the more they can interact with you and do things to you, kind of very much like projects exactly how this short is going to end, and it does the exact way you think, which is he can't help but pay attention to them, and then they kill him. But it does have a really nice final shot, which is why this is definitely no less than a B, which they rip the eye out of his... Well, he actually cuts the eye out of his head, which is fucked up and well done, but then the ghosts grab it and shove it down his throat, and I liked the way that was done. It's really good. But yeah, Phase 1 clinical trials. Solid B.
Hey, I like it, Picasso.
That brings us to A Ride in the Park, which is actually a short film made by the same writer-director behind the Blair Witch Project, and this couldn't be any more different, but heavily enjoyable. I love this one. I think it's a great idea. It's a great concept. Essentially, a guy goes on a bike ride. Because of that, he has like a GoPro on his helmet, and while on that bike ride, he comes across a woman who's been attacked and bit. You probably guessed what's happening here. This is a zombie film where you get a GoPro strapped on the head of a zombie. The chaos and destruction you see is all well done. It really takes advantage of the found footage style, especially when the zombies bust into a little girl's birthday party in the park. It just kind of explodes in a very enjoyable, action-packed finals, like, third act of the short, and gives you a kind of sad, tragic ending to a zombie thing with a zombie I hadn't really seen before. And I liked how, like, him in zombie form hearing, well, you know what, I won't get into it. But yeah, all in all, I really enjoy this short. I highly recommend it. If you don't watch this whole movie, at least to check this out. I think you'd get a kick out of it. And because of that, I give it a high praise A, not an S, but it is a very, very solid A. A plus, if anything.
Gorgeous.
But now we move on to VHS 2's crown jewel and one of the best segments in the entire franchise, Safe Haven. Safe Haven is actually made by, God, I totally forgot his name, but the director of The Raid and The Raid 2, which in my opinion are the two greatest action films ever made. But he went on and he made a VHS segment. And this is also the franchise's first, I think, that they start doing in each movie, where at least one segment is given to an international filmmaker of some kind, and you get a non-English language segment. And I've always liked that. It really lets really unique voices you wouldn't see otherwise, like, get to show you what they've got. And man, does this one really show you what they can do. The basic premise is a documentary crew, like a Vice News type crew, investigating a cult-like compound in Indonesia. And a lot of the cast in this is actually people from the Raid franchise, so like I recognize them. It just kind of becomes like an amazing example of how well you can do action and violence and stuff like that in a found footage segment. And while it does eventually become more like horror action towards the end, it never loses the existential dread and whatnot of a cult actually being right with the demonic entity they worship. It's got so many amazing set pieces. I don't know how they got away with so much on like the budget, because VHS is a low budget film franchise, so it's not like the segments get a lot of money. So they did a great job with what they had. I couldn't recommend Safe Haven higher enough. Like I said, if you don't want to watch all of these segments, but you are interested in some of them, I gotta recommend Safe Haven. Check it out. Even if you gotta like find it on YouTube or something, like it's so worth a watch. And here we are with the final segment of VHS 2, Slumber Party Alien Abduction. It's fine. It's another very like middle of the road. It's not insulting or anything. It didn't bore me. It's a okay watch. It felt like inspired by the likes of Alien Abduction from the 80s, something like that, where it's kids hanging out, having a sleepover. The older brothers are there too, you know, bullying one another. Very typical kid activities. And then, boom, aliens come in and just abduct everyone. There's not, honestly, much more to it than that. I mean, there is a fun thing where they have a GoPro on the dog, so you get a lot of cool shots with that. I'm sure they used, like, a puppet of some kind with, like, the GoPro on it, or maybe they actually did strap a GoPro on a dog. And I know this is the only other short besides Amateur Night to get a feature film adaptation, which I haven't seen. Maybe I'll watch those in the future. I don't know. But like I said, this one, in my opinion, very middle of the road. And the dog dies, which, you know, left kind of a bad taste in my mouth. But anyway, yeah, it's whatever. See. All right. Now we're on the VHS movie I've kind of been dreading to cover. We might as well rip the Band-Aid off here. VHS Viral. The notorious, and I'm going to say officially worst entry in the franchise. We might as well start off with the wraparound segment, Vicious Circles. You would think that at least for an initial trilogy, they would continue the motif of the wraparound segment being someone hired or tricked or something into finding and watching these weird, haunted, snuff, crazy VHS tapes, right? That actually ends with VHS 2. We don't get another wraparound segment that is framed up. Well, no. We get one more. Scratch that. We get an... I didn't like it. That's okay. But no, this one does not do that. This one instead follows a guy and his fiancée. I don't know. He's like obsessed with going viral and is really hyped to record a car chase that is going to be going past his house of like some weird ice cream truck that's just been evading the police and just hitting people and doing hit and runs all night, almost like supernaturally getting away with it. And as it passes his house, his phone gets hijacked and you get some flashes of previous segments in the franchise. I don't know what that's about. And his girlfriend somehow gets kidnapped by the ice cream truck. So basically this wraparound segment is him driving through or riding his bike through the streets of LA, chasing this ice cream truck, trying to save his girlfriend. And as he does, I guess the ice cream truck hijacks people's phones and like messes with them and makes them do evil shit, I think. And then that's the segment you watch too. I don't know. It's horrible, and there's a part of it that honestly, I felt like as I was watching, I was like, "Is this racist?"
5 to 10. Now give me a burger before I give you some matching eyeshadow.
And I was like, the way these guys are speaking, I don't know. This doesn't feel like from a place of knowledge. It felt more like from a place of ignorance. So I don't know. I hated this. This is an F. I can't express more how much of an F this is. And the big ending is he catches up with the ice cream truck and hits a button, putting, I guess, the movie we just watched onto the internet, which then somehow causes mass destruction all around LA because the virality of the tapes and people watching it makes them go insane and kill each other. Like, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm kind of pulling that explanation out of my ass, but I think that's what's happening here. There's a fucking F.
Fuck you.
Next up, we have Dante the Great, which is the first attempt at a mockumentary or, you know, meta fake documentary in the VHS franchise. And I gotta say, I always thought that would be a good way to do like a wraparound segment for one of these. But yeah, this did not hit at all. I mean, the premise is interesting. The idea of like an out of luck, out of nowhere aspiring magician in like the bowels of redneck Tennessee or something like that gets his hand on a demon-possessed cape used by Harry Houdini or something, and getting to essentially, that cape essentially gives him the superpower of real magic, but the real magic can only manifest as like shitty Vegas street magic or like show magic, which I kind of love that premise. It's a shame they completely wasted it and fucked it up with terribly done, just egregious found footage. Like, why is that camera even there? Why are there people even filming this?
To the show.
The sound effects and like the music choice is just, it's just bad, man. I was just watching like, this is embarrassing. Just don't have the music choice. Just have it be the camera audio then, if that's what you want to do. I don't know. Like Dante the Great it just annoyed me. But it's not an F because I got to give it some credit for what it did and what it tried to do. It just comes off cringy and bad and silly and not entirely that great. Interesting concept. I would love to see it maybe tried again in some other form. But on a whole, yeah, unfortunately, Dante the Great. So after that disappointment, we now have what is this movie's entry in the international segment, international filmmaker portion of this franchise or these movies, Parallel Monsters. And I gotta say, I like this one. I mean, it's a solid B. The story is great. It's a really great premise. A guy opens a portal to a parallel world where on the other side is him, who is also a scientist, who opened up his portal at the same time. And they're like, oh, we should be the same or whatever. And then maybe the grass is greener on the other side, so they decide to swap lives for a second and see what's going on. And it turns out our main character, his doppelganger in that parallel world, is actually a demonic Lovecraftian hell world of some kind where like women have monster teeth vaginas and men have alien mouth, like xenomorph mouth penises, and it's like the designs are really off-putting and are really like disturbing and make you feel like, oh, this isn't good. And then the implication of what his parallel self does to his wife based off that ending is also like extra fucked. There's a lot of cosmic, like just existential, just dread and horror going on here that's just like, ugh. And I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe I just thought it's really well done. It's great. There's just something about it that kind of like holds it back from me being able to say it's like an A or S tier in this franchise. But it's a great short film. It's a great, interesting premise, and like a be careful what you wish for. Grass isn't greener. Oh God, no, it's not. Oh God, run for your lives from that other side, kind of thing. So, yeah, I would say Parallel Monsters, very solid B.
Okay, I like it, Picasso.
Moving on to the next VHS viral segment, which is actually made by Aaron and Benson Moorhead, something like that. They're the guys who made an indie horror movie I love, Resolution, as well as another one called The Endless. And they also are the ones who, in my opinion, are bringing Marvel Studios back from the dead with their Loki seasons and the way they came in on all the reshoots for Daredevil and like saved Daredevil Born Again season 1 and made it like canon to the Netflix stuff, and how they've kind of been taking over a lot of the Marvel TV side of things. Like they have their hands in a lot of different Marvel stuff, some of the best stuff they're doing now. So it's cool to see where they started with Bone Storm. I gotta say, I love Bone Storm's energy. I love like the jackass skate culture energy where it's like just some hood rat kids making skate videos, trying to go viral with their skateboard tricks. I'm repeating myself. And they decide to go down to Tijuana, and they grab just some random kid at the skate park who they call Gas Money Kid. And they go down there and somehow interrupt or cause some weird like Mexican resurrection ritual with some weird cult. At least that's what I gathered. And then once the cult shows up, it becomes these skateboarders, or at least our two leads, just kicking everyone's ass and getting the fuck out of there. And I don't know, this is very enjoyable. And in retrospect, I think I was a little harsh on it because, you know what? I'm going to trust my gut, and I'm going to say, like, there's some aspects about it that kind of hold it back from being above a C. I'd say this is a very middle-of-the-road C. Some of the effects are, some of the jokes that they do aren't really in tone with some other stuff they try to do. But I got to give it props for the skeleton and a bunch of other things. It's a fun watch, but it's not, it's not Parallel Monsters. It's not Tuesday the 17th. It's definitely not a Ride in the Park. It's not Safe Haven. I would say it's like a little better than these two C, maybe like a C+, but I like it, and maybe I'm a little biased, but it's fun. It's a fun watch, and the skaters versus demonic Mexican skeletons in Tijuana sounds like a fun premise, maybe just not executed as great as it could have been, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Oh, right, it's a C. Now, at this point, you might be a type of viewer to be like, that's a small number of VHS segments for a VHS movie, and you're right. VHS Viral has the least segments out of all of them by 1. You might be another type of viewer that is already in the comments saying, did you know that VHS Viral actually had another segment that they cut out of the movie? Yes, I watched it, and I'd never watched it before. And I know it got cut out because it actually wasn't at all in theme with it being found footage. And I was curious what that meant, what this was, like why did it get cut out? And it's on Vimeo if you're curious. What the fuck? This feels like some dude somehow pulled one over on the VHS movie producers and just got funding for his David Lynchian student film. I don't... The plot, from what I think, is like an Illuminati type group that controls a lot of the planet is stalking this really hot, sexy female who I think is also a serial killer killing other hot, sexy females. And I don't know why they're tracking her, but they're tracking her and like they kidnap her and experiment on her for some reason. It's all presented very Lynchian, dreamlike, like what the hell is going on? And then just gives you like this ending with like this weird bird. I don't know what's going on. You watch it and try to decipher it for yourself, but I get why they cut it. It really does feel like some guy managed to get money out of the VHS producers for the third one and just made like some student thing he'd always wanted to make and was like, screw it, I don't care if it's on theme. That's genuinely what it feels like. I don't know. It's not great. F.
Fuck you.
And with that, the original VHS, original trilogy franchise has come to a close. And, for years there, me and everyone else assumed that would be it. We'd never get another one because Viral messed up so bad. Only for Shudder, the geniuses that they are, to bring it back stronger than ever with a great revival and course correction for the franchise, starting with VHS 94. And so we should probably start off with the wraparound segment, Holy Hell. And I gotta say, holy hell, it's not that great. It starts off strong with like another one of these, a group of people stumbling or collecting VHS tapes. The twist this time being a SWAT team performing some raid, which I kind of liked. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Let's get law enforcement involved. Let's see like a law enforcement body cam perspective of stumbling across these haunted tapes that like fuck with your mind and whatnot. And as the movie goes on and you keep seeing that wraparound segment in between, the other really good segments, like line delivery and inside jokes and whatnot clearly bring it down, in my opinion. Like
We don't need more tech, we need a grave digger.
That, like why? And that whole ending, it felt like, I don't know, like super edgy teenage Tumblr blog kind of energy ending with like the two female SWAT members saying a bunch of shit about why they're doing this and whatnot, and it leaves more questions than answers, and I don't know. I didn't like it. The ending makes it even worse. It like really brings it down. Not a fan. Fortunately, it gets better from here, but the initial like wraparound segment, though it started strong, by the end, I came to the conclusion that it was a D. And then from that misfire, we move on to what is a really fantastic segment in this Radma Storm Drain. The basic premise of this is a local news reporter for the local Radma station is doing an investigation on like the homeless population in the sewer, essentially. It doesn't start off that way, but then she sees a potential like expose to do about like the homeless population living in the sewer underneath the city that she's in. And it leads to her getting much more than she Ratma'd for. And I gotta say, like, just like the way that this is shot, how it's like a local news station camera, and just, you know, it really feels like something out of the 90s. It really feels VHS. It really feels found footage. You do a great job with the filming and the presentation and the way it escalates, and her going into the Radma sewer and all that stuff. And the design of the eventual, like, demon you see is so Ratma. It's great. All of it is great. The ending is great.
Now, I am very glad to have our wonderful coworker, Holly Marciano, with us, following her incredible rescue after she got trapped in a storm drain.
It's good to be back. It's the first day of fall, and there's no better way to kick off the season than with Westerville's 94th annual Pumpkin Festival. People are already lining up to Ratma the Hayride. I'm Holly Marciano, Channel 6 News. Hail Ratma.
Obviously, this also includes the veggie muncher insert, which is like a fun little commercial they put in during the Radma, and I gotta say it's a lot of fun.
Compression technology, the Veggie Masher turns your ordinary drab vegetables into a tasty, mouth-watering paste in mere seconds. Just mash and enjoy.
Radma and Hail Ratma. I gotta give this a Radma. So from that Ratma, we move on to The Empty Wake. And this is actually made or written and directed by Simon Barrett, who is the writer of a bunch of Adam Wingard stuff and two of my favorite horror movies of all time. I found this to be a little bit of a letdown because it's kind of just very matter-of-fact. Like, the basic premise is a woman is called in by her boss to do an overnight wake, which is also being live streamed on a couple cameras for a guy who I believe had either died in a car accident or himself. I don't remember which. I think it's a car accident. And the whole thing is actually like, I think like a weird demonic ritual of some kind he was attached to.
Hello?
Oh no. He stuff by like jumping off of a roof, saying some weird shit. Some weird babble. And there might be more deep stuff going on here, but essentially it's this woman doing her job, doing an overnight wake, and the body coming to life and trying to kill her. And there's not much more to it than that. Like I said, very matter-of-fact. You kind of know exactly where it's going. There's a really clever gag, though, where his head is like cut off here, so the body's walking around, but then like the head is on the floor, and that's what sees. So, you know, fun little stuff like that. But for... You know, it's a good little horror short. VHS, very middle of the road, a little elevated. I wouldn't say it's a C, more like a solid B, B minus. So, you know, it goes right into...
Okay, I like it, Picasso.
But here we are now in VHS 94's, I think, biggest, most well-known segment, or what people probably remember the most if they've seen this one, which is this movie's, again, international submission, a movie called The Subject. And essentially this plays kind of like, I don't know, like the third act of like an action Resident Evil movie or video game, like how the Resident Evil video games by like the third act evolved into like horror, action, sci-fi schlock. That's kind of what this segment is. The basic premise is like this weird scientist dude has been experimenting on different test subjects, trying to create a heightened biomechanical new human species. And you are getting the camera feed of what are the new eyes and head of a successful test subject who is this woman that he abducted. And the whole short is just her perspective through her new camera head, and then the body cams of like a SWAT team that raid and other security cameras around that are all, it's a little too convenient, the amount of footage. Like, it doesn't really stick to, it's all found footage, but, you know, cameras conveniently where they need to be to show stuff cinematically, which is why I wouldn't exactly put this at S, but this is a very high A+. It is just a super fun sci-fi, slightly horror through like the gore and like the existential horror and dread of what's happening to these people. But really the meat and potatoes of this is just fun, like action, sci-fi, gore schlock. It's It's all great. It's super fun. Again, talk about like taking advantage of like, I can't imagine it was a high budget, but they ate up all the resources they have to like put out an amazing, super fun short film in the kind of found footage style. But you know, what can you do? Definitely check this short out if you're at all interested in what I've said, or you like sci-fi horror action, or like sci-fi action with a lot of gore. I don't know. It's really fun, super great, and like I said, high A+ tier.
Gorgeous.
And here we are on the final segment of VHS 94, Terror. And this is an interesting idea. This is very much like, I don't know, you're hanging out with your friends, you're like, dude, guys, have you ever thought about like this for like what you could do with like a certain type of monster lore? In this case, it's, hey, what if like vampire blood was not only, you know, ignited in sunlight, but was like a C4 explosive? So it's about like these white supremacists that have managed to get their hands on and captured a vampire and use said vampire blood to infect animals to turn them into bombs. And they're going to like blow up some government facility and start, you know, a revolution, a white supremacist revolution against the American government. And so, you know, it does give you characters that there's not like tension because you don't exactly want them to live, but everything that this short presents is, again, very enjoyable, very fun, a solid B. The vampire stuff is great. The vampire design at the end is like unique and interesting, kind of like an elevated, more H.R. Geiger, Guillermo del Toro vampires from Blade 2. The incompetency of the white supremacist rednecks is also very enjoyable and entertaining as they all die and or kill themselves and each other one by one accidentally. It's great. It's a lot of fun. I wouldn't exactly say, you know, it's on the level of The Subject or Storm Drain or Safe Haven, but it's good. It's like a very solid high B. Not exactly B+, you know, like a good like 88 if we're on like a 7-point grading scale. So here we go. The Terror, B.
Okay, I like it, Picasso.
Oh, and cutting in here, there is one interesting thing actually with Terror and Holy Hell, which I should probably mention, in that it's actually the first like segments in a VHS movie to share a character. It turns out, I think that dude who like gets tortured at the end by the two females in Holy Hell is the guy who was providing weaponry to this white supremacist organization. It's just like a small thing. Like if you notice it, you notice it. That's a cool little thing. That's VHS 94. Looking over this board. So far, I think. Let's see, VHS. It looks like so far VHS 2 has the best spread in my opinion. Moving on to VHS 99. Right off the bat, let me just say the most disappointing thing about VHS 99, in my opinion, is that it doesn't have a wraparound segment. It doesn't have a wraparound plot that that keeps you engaged as you watch the other segments. It's just these like stop motion like soldier movies that one of the characters in a later entry in this movie called Gawker is making. So I guess the implication is that VHS 99, you're watching like all of these shorts already on a VHS tape that includes this kids stop motion stuff, but I was just so turned off and taken aback that this didn't have a wraparound segment that I kind of found the toy soldier stuff annoying, and it just reminded me of my disappointment. So just for not having a wraparound and not giving me that thing that I've grown accustomed in this franchise, that's an F.
Fuck you.
But moving on from my personal little gripe, let's go with actually the first segment, Shredding. The basic premise of this is a punk band. I forgot their name. The punk music that they make for this short is fine. It's serviceable for what they're doing.
At church, can't you tell?
Going to break into a closed down, like small venue that another punk band earlier in the 90s called Bitch Cat played at and died in after getting like stampeded because a fire happened and everyone like had to bust out, which, you know, is a real common tragedy that happened a lot in the past, and I think still happens to this day. I'm sure, you know, it's not a fixed problem in all of society. But yeah, this modern day punk band of like these annoying ass kids, I couldn't think of another better description, break in and are very disrespectful to the dead. There's one character in it that like relates it to it's either Indian or Hindu. I couldn't remember. I probably should have written that down in my notes, unfortunately. But it's basically this myth of boots, which is like a term for a vengeful spirit in his culture, where if they like died horribly and have unfinished business, you don't want to fuck with where they died because they will get you. And that's essentially what this short is. This very disrespectful punk band goes in, disrespects another punk band that died there horribly, and then once they go too far at midnight, which is the moment that Bitch Cat died, Bitch Cat comes back to life as like this demon spawn punk band and kill everybody one by one. And I have it marked here as a C, and it was a B. While I was watching, I was like, oh, this is a B. This is interesting. Until something they set up kind of paid off, but didn't. The one character that knows what's going on and is respectful to the dead and tried to leave early has this little like powder that his mom gave him or he made to dispel the spirits, and he uses it successfully once, only for, I guess he ran out or something, or maybe it wasn't as effective as he thought, and they kill him anyway. He should have lived. That would have really made this better. Instead, they all die, and it's kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, they stuck to the found footage aspect of it too, so that's why it's not lower than a C, but I felt kind of deflated by the end of this plot. So shredding, that gets a very middle of the road C for me. Up next, after shredding, we have what feels like, you know, a nice like college campus hazing horror story myth, Bid. And I gotta say, I like this. I have a soft spot for movies like Sorority Row or horror movies about like a sorority or a group of college age or senior high school age friends doing something and causing something horrible to then happen to them as their comeuppance. That little trope is a personal little favorite of mine, and that's what this is in droves. Essentially a easily bullied girl who wants to make her way into a sorority accepts a hazing ritual where in the past the sorority accidentally buried a girl alive, left her there for a week, and then when they exhumed her, her body was gone. And the legend is she made a deal with the devil in some way, and her body was never found, and now she's in hell. And they want this new recruit to go through that too and bury herself alive. And then through circumstances, being rain and security showing up, they leave her there overnight. Like, we'll get her in the morning, it'll be fine. And then the footage is her GoPro as she's buried alive, which is a personal fucked up horror of mine that I would never want to end up in. I don't think anyone would. And you get that. You get her in this coffin, hearing like bangs and noises outside. And then eventually it turns out that the sorority legend was true. And the girl who died the same way in the past offers our new character, our new final girl, or I guess our victim, I should say, a choice. She can either die there and become another Reap soul with her, or set up her sorority sisters as a sacrifice. And it gives a really good ending punchline where the sorority girls get exactly what's coming to them. And it's just classic college legend horror fare. I gotta say, it's really well done. I really liked this one. Solid B for Suicide Bid. I hope I don't have to censor the word suicide.
Hey, I like it, Picasso.
All right, and now we've got Ozzy's Dungeon, which, fun fact, is made by, or was written and directed by Flying Lotus. And if you know anything about the movies he's made, you can expect something very weird, and it is very weird. The basic premise is it starts off with you watching, like, the VHS recording of an old Legends of the Hidden Temple type game show, where it's like a bunch of kids competing for an attempt to enter Ozzy's dungeon and get a wish. And it's actually hosted by, oh god, what's his fucking name? I wrote it down. Come on, what's his name? From GTA 5. Trevor. Fucking Trevor. Trevor stars in this, and he's great, honestly. He's really good in it. Yeah, played by Trevor from GTA 5, and he does a great job. It's really well acted. All of this is like, it's really interesting. It just has this weird, like, uncomfortable kind of potty humor that I think kind of brings it down. This would have been like an A or higher if it didn't have a lot of that, which I know, I guess Flying Lotus is a bit obsessed with based off of his other stuff I've seen make, and I've seen him make. But yeah, it's essentially a Legend of the Hidden Temple type show, and our main character is the mother of a girl who's competing on it who horribly breaks her leg and cripples herself for life. So then you cut 2 years later, and the mom has kidnapped the host, Trevor, and is putting him through her own basement torture, which is like a simulation of the games he had to force the kids to run through in the show. So, like, you know, it's like real human excrement and stuff like that instead of just like the intestine thing. You know, a torture version of Legends of the Hidden Temple in a crazy woman's basement. And her family is just going along with it because clearly she's bullying them. And that alone would have been enough for like a VHS short, kind of like in the realm of like their real life snuff films things. But this one takes it a step further where Trevor then tells them, okay, I'll bring you to Ozzy to grant your wish. And that's where the short kind of changes and like elevates a bit from just to, oh, now I'm paying attention. And it turns out that like Ozzy's dungeon was like a real thing that you could have gotten whatever wish you wanted granted. And like there's like a cave system in the back of the studio after the family and Trevor break into it. And it leads to, I guess Ozzy is like some hedonistic Greek god type figure, or I don't know. There's a lot of ideas going on in Flying Lotus's head that I didn't fully absorb or understand what was on screen. But the big thing is that it turns out that the daughter who gets her final wish after finally getting to get to Ozzy after what she went through as a child, and it turns out she's evil, straight up evil, and I guess ask for some Lovecraftian god to come through. I don't know. All I know is the mom yelling like, "What did you do, bitch? What did you do? you evil bitch," or something like that. I laughed. I really did. But it's not fully my sense of humor. It's not fully my thing. I really dug the creativity and the uniqueness of this, but some of it fell flat in my opinion. And so I would give it a very solid B or high B+. So yeah. Ozzy's Dungeon.
Okay, I like it. Picasso.
Okay, and now we have, I'm just going to say it's the worst segment in the movie, Gawkers. And I'm not just angry because it's the segment that took away my wraparound because the toy soldier stuff is linked to this one specifically. But it's also kind of like, meh. It's another like overly horny, like annoying teenage boys are the main characters going around filming themselves like perving on girls, trying to get upshot dresses. Like, I don't like these characters. Meh. And then like the whole reveal, the big reveal is that they like install spyware on their hot neighbor's computer and are perving on and being voyeurs to her, only to find out she's like a snake-headed gorgon that turns you to stone, like straight out of Greek myth, which is the twist, I guess. Like the monster she isn't something you would traditionally expect, like a werewolf or a vampire. It's something kind of crazy and out of nowhere. But other than that, there's not much going on here. Kids perv on girl, girl monster, girl kill kids. And I wasn't really that hot on it. It was very meh in my opinion. And I just explained the whole thing to you. It's not that great. So this is a D, solid D. Okay, now we have reached VHS. Now we have reached VHS 99's best segment by far, and probably one of like the top 3 segments in the entire franchise, To Hell and Back. And the plot of this, it's in the title. A couple of guys with a camera go to hell and back. The basic plot is we have these two documentarian best friends. And, oh, this is from the people who made Deadstream. So it's like the same actor. It's the exact same tone of Deadstream. It's not fully horror and scary. Like the characters, the main characters and their chemistry and the way they interact with each other really gets you through it as an audience member. Like, oh, this is fun.
Hey. Dude, how do we get outside?
Oh, dude, your head. Whoa, stop looking.
Oh, shit.
is that? And then they're just surrounded by abject hell horror. And for a found footage segment set in hell, goddamn it, hell looked awesome. Like the design of hell and the demons and what was going on there is great. Dude, what is that? Is that a person?
Hey!
So essentially, these two documentarians are asked by a witch coven to document their 99 going into the 2000s millennium ceremony where like the veil will be like weak and they can like do this thing, right? And these documentarians are like, oh, this is a good subject. You know, we make it some good material. How to hear? Only it turns out that the witches are right. And another demon that the witches don't want anything to do with fucks with their ceremony and accidentally grabs these two guys and brings them to hell, where they meet a lost soul in hell who speaks like the era she died and is very mysterious. I think her name's Mabel. She's great. Our three human leads in hell are all great. It's a lot of fun. Like I keep saying, the designs are great. The demons are great. The found footageness of it is great. Like the one shot where the lightning and you see the giant demon like above them. Like I don't know how they got away with what they got away with. I can't imagine this was given much more of a budget than the other segments. I don't know how it works behind the scenes, but it feels like money was put into this. And if it wasn't, that's an even better testimony to the filmmaking. I don't want to spoil the whole thing. The ending's neat, a little sad, a little tragic, but also I like it. There's really funny moments. There's moments that make you go, moments that make you scared, moments that make you laugh. And I think it's the longest segment in this movie by far, but goddamn, does it deserve it. And it's a great punchline to credits. I get with a wraparound, this wouldn't have been the ending to credits, but you could have figured out a way. This is great. This is exactly everything you want out of a VHS segment and a VHS movie is just stuff like this. To hell and back, man. 10 out of 10. S+. Now, here we are at the end of this initial revival trilogy with what I think, I don't know exactly where it stands, but it's at least in the top 3, maybe my favorite VHS movie, VHS 85. And we might as well, obviously jump into the wraparound segment of this one, Total Copy, which I absolutely fucking love. This is great. Remember before when I said that thing of, man, a mockumentary would be a really good way to do a wraparound segment in one of these? Finally, the basic premise of this mockumentary is looking into the deaths of a bunch of college researchers in a science department who stumbled upon or somehow discovered an interdimensional alien type being that seems to copy what it sees. Like it copies the professor and like other people and stuff and tries to emulate them. And essentially the mockumentary is you're following these professors as they try to figure out what this extra dimensional creature is. They never exactly say alien, just it's something not human that can morph that they don't understand. And they're trying to figure out what it is and communicate with it. And the whole time they keep hinting that it's going to go wrong. All these people are going to die. Like there's even, the opening of this video should be the one professor being like, they didn't deserve what they get. And then, because throughout the whole thing, the one professor's been driving like, oh, we're communicating with it. It understands us. And it doesn't. It's been watching like TV and watching like jazzercise videos. So the whole punchline is it kills everybody and then recreates the 80s jazzercise videos with their dead bodies. Kind of like a good, like, don't assume you know what's going on, especially when you're dealing with an alien creature. I love this. I love this segment. I love the way it was produced and presented. It elevates the whole movie when the wraparound is, in my opinion, this is friggin' S tier. They finally gave us a wraparound that's just as good, if not better, than the other segments in the movie. It elevates the whole project as a whole. I love it. More of this in the future, please. Total Copy S. Now, after that, we get what is kind of, but not really, but at least in what you see when it's presented initially, what seems to be another VHS attempt at like a real life snuff film. This time being a bunch of college age people going out on a lake that is blocked off, like do not go into this water, all these signs. Initially you go in thinking it's going to be something like that one creep show segment where there's like the oil monster that eats everyone. Like there's something wrong with the water they're going into. And that's kind of the bait and switch, because they go out into the water and nothing happens. And you're like, well, what's going to happen? Why can't they go out into this lake? And then out of nowhere, someone just starts sniping everyone. And it becomes a very harrowing, real, true to life depiction of like what a mass casualty event with a sniper killing a bunch of people would probably look like and be like. And it's not fun until it is, because the reveal about not going into the lake is that water, I guess if you die like immediately or in the water or after touching the water, you can't die. You just kind of come back as an unkillable zombie, but you still have your faculties. You're not like brains, like as you see in this. They're still walking around. One of the women who got shot in the mouth, like, doesn't have a mouth anymore, but she's alive. It's really well done, and kind of just unfortunately ends. They go back to their RV and they find like Roman numerals spray painted onto it, and like, what are we gonna do from here? And then it kind of glitches and ends. So just that, No Wake, as just a real life snuff film with a quick supernatural twist reveal at the end that they can't die. I mean, it works as its own thing, but it feels like there's more missing and they could have done more with it. So, unfortunately, No Wake gets a C from me. So, our next segment in VHS 85 is the international foreign language segment. And honestly, it's great. God of Death. It plays more like a real life survival scenario. Like if you were trapped in a building that's kind of collapsing during an earthquake. That's basically the vibe of this. And from my understanding, it's based off of a real earthquake tragedy that happened in Mexico. So I'm going to go ahead and say, like, for me, this is a B, but I feel like if I was more familiar with the culture and like I grew up there and I knew more about like what it was doing and like the local myths and legend, this would definitely be much more elevated, you know, if I wasn't so ignorant. But based off of just what it presents in this short, as someone who isn't like in tune with the culture and the myths it's feeding off of, I gotta say it's really good as like a short little disaster film that leads to essentially, yeah, that's what it is. It's a survival disaster film during an earthquake and a building collapse. But as they try to escape into the basement, they find the basement is like attached to some like ancient temple or cave system, which leads to this like Aztec like horror room where some evil god is being resurrected. I don't know if his resurrection is causing the earthquake or the earthquake caused it or vice versa, but you know, it's really well done. The gore at the end is well done. It never leaves the found footage style. It doesn't like have random camera placements to like just, you know, be exploitive and be like, oh well, fortunately we got this CCTV so we can get this angle. No, it sticks with what it presents, and a couple really good shots, a couple really good money shots, and I really liked it. Again, God of Death, solid B.
Hey, I like it, Picasso.
After that, we got Techno God, which is, it's fine. It's very middle of the road. Like, the basic premise is like a pretentious art student is doing an early VR tech, like one woman play demonstration in like 1980s technology. So it looks like something out of the Lawnmower Man. And so she puts on this VR helmet and does like a sarcastic, like pretentious fake ritual where she's kind of riffing and being like, God of technology, why don't you listen to us or whatever, and like calling it like a bitch and like insulting it. She doesn't say that verbatim, but essentially insulting it and poking at what you eventually find out is a real cosmic like techno god deity that you don't want to fuck with. And that's essentially what happens is she accidentally summons a real supernatural cosmic entity, digital cosmic entity, accidentally, and it proceeds to just fuck her up. Like, honestly, the gore and the effects at the end is fun, like the way she floats in front of the audience and like it eats her hand in the digital world, and then like she looks, she no longer has a hand, things like that. And the final shot when they take the helmet off is neat, but I don't know, there's not a whole lot going on here. There's not really a whole lot of plot. It's just like, it feels like the one woman play you're watching. Like, it doesn't feel elevated outside of like, again, a one person show in like a black box theater. So yeah, I mean, it's a great attempt. It's fine filmmaking, but nothing on like these levels. So I'd say it's a pretty solid C. Next up, we have, God, I'm so many movies in. I have so much editing out of me. All right, so next segment we got is Ambrosia. And this one is, again, another kind of VHS attempt at a real-life snuff film kind of thing, except with a fun little twist that elevates this to an A. I'm going to go ahead and say it's an A. But the basic plot is, it's kind of like the third act of Red State. So you're introduced to this girl and her cousin, and they're basically filming a yearly tradition, family reunion. And they're very vague and obviously, you know, intentional about how they talk about this yearly family tradition or reunion ritual. And it turns out this girl is the sniper that killed everybody back in No Wake. So for the first time in this franchise, other than that one little character showing up in Holy Hell and Terror, you get a direct plot connection where No Wake and what happens there directly follows up and feeds into Ambrosia. And that's why Ambrosia to me is definitely elevated to an A. It's the first time these movies have done that, and I was a huge fan the first time I watched it. It really caught me off guard in like the best way. And so essentially you get like this family reunion, they're like white supremacist terrible people. And every year they kill 7 people as their tradition. And that's what No Wake was. And this is the follow-up where in the beginning of it, her little, like, I think brother mentions that people in an RV gave him a plastic squirt gun filled with water, and he sprays her. But then, as they're watching the video she recorded of killing everybody in No Wake, the cops show up, and it becomes the third act of Red State, where everyone dies at the hands of the police, except for her, because it turns out that our surviving characters who are undying purposely got her wet so that when the cops arrested and killed everyone around her, no matter what she did, she would end up arrested and presumably probably a horrible government military experiment for the rest of her life. So it's a really nice like comeuppance tie of fate where like characters you saw in a previous segment actually live to kind of tell the tale. I don't know exactly. I mean, it'd be cool if we saw them pop up again, but yeah, I really liked Ambrosia. I thought it was very well done, a great tie into a previous segment. And if you're going to do kind of like real life snuff films in VHS, I kind of want them like this, where they are a snuff film, but there's a little more going on. It's not just straight murder. So yeah, Ambrosia, A.
Gorgeous.
And now we've reached the final segment of VHS 85, Dreamkill, which is a segment written and directed by Scott Dickinson, something like that. One of those pronunciations is right, I think. But he's the person who made The Black Phone, both 1 and 2. And funny enough, this is technically in the world of The Black Phone. It takes place continuity-wise after The Black Phone 2. But the visual style of how dreams in this look like 16mm film is directly followed up on in Black Phone 2. Like, these are connected, which is interesting. It's actually one of the reasons why it pulls it down from an S for me, the fact that, like, it is tied to another random franchise. Like, it's very much an A. I really like the premise, that being a detective is being sent VHS tapes that have, like I said, 16mm grade, like, film recordings of real life murders, but he's getting them days before the actual murders occur. And eventually, a teenage kid is arrested and brought in as the person sending the tapes, and that kid reveals that he dreams the future, and for some reason, those dreams, whenever he, like, sets a VHS tape in to record overnight, get recorded on said VHS tapes. And he's been horrified, so he's been sending them into the police. And there is a really interesting, like, character reveal and twist with that teen and his connection to the detectives and the killer that I don't necessarily want to reveal here. Like, I think it's definitely worth watching VHS 85 and this segment as a whole. It's really well done. The violence and gore and stuff that it gets away with is really uncomfortable, really sinister Black Phone type stuff, honestly. It works well. I think it's really well made, but it being wholeheartedly attached to another franchise kind of brings it down from an S for me. But, you know, it's an A. It's really good. Check it out. If you don't check out the rest of the movie, at least watch this one. Yeah. Dreamkill.
Gorgeous.
And now we've made it to VHS Beyond. And if you want to know my thoughts more in depth on those segments, well, I already made a video that includes all of that. So, yeah, if you're curious, go check that out. But to just kind of rapid fire, the wraparound segment in this one called Abduction is actually interesting. It's a mockumentary about a guy who apparently recorded a real-life interaction that he had with a UFO alien-type creature that comes into his house at night. I gave this a solid B. It would have been lower, but the way it used Corridor Crew and other like real-life people in the UFO world to make it seem real, I kind of liked. The ending, bit of disappointment. So yeah, B.
Okay, I like it, Picasso.
After that comes Stork, which is one of my personal favorite segments of all time. This would definitely be in my top 3 or 5. I don't know, but Stork is S tier, and I would absolutely love a movie, feature film based off of this about Warden. This feels like an action horror SCP type found footage segment. I don't know. It's a lot of fun, super well done, super gory, super entertaining. Stork, S is for S tier. After that comes Dream Girl, which is VHS Beyond's international foreign language segment. It's fine, honestly. I don't know if it was like a cultural thing or whatever, but it didn't feel as sci-fi like the Beyond premise that the movie's title gives. It didn't feel like it really fulfilled that. I give Dream Girl a solid C. After that, we get a Live and Let Dive, which is a short that kind of feels like you sat around and you came up with a cool idea. What if a bunch of, I almost called them backpackers, what if a bunch of parachutists, plane crashes into a UFO during like an active UFO event? And that's what happens. That's the start. But then it doesn't really like lead anywhere. It just becomes running around an orchard, avoiding an alien trying to kill you. It's fine. The opening is much better than where it leads, and the effects of the plane crash, really good. Found footage in that part, amazing. But other than that, you know, just kind of a C. Next up, we got Fur Babies, which is actually made by Justin Long and I believe his wife. And I was not a fan of this one. Not only does it really not at all fulfill the science fiction Beyond promise of the title, it's just Tusk with dogs, which Justin Long started. I don't understand the creative process or idea behind this. It's just Tusk with a crazy Karen turning people into dog people. D for dog. And then finally for VHS Beyond, we get what is my favorite segment in the movie, or might even be one of my favorite, or if not my favorite VHS segment of all time. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I absolutely loved Stowaway. As like a piece of just horror, sci-fi, existential, cosmic dread. It's beautiful. It's got great acting, great character development, great cinematography and camera work. Even for a found footage thing, like it still manages to have some shots that evoke a really weird sense of dreadful beauty. It's written by Mike Flanagan, who's like the best horror writer-director working out there right now. So yeah, Stowaway, 10 out of 10. It's got everything going for it. S tier. And now we have finally reached the perfect Halloween season VHS movie. The most recent one, the newest one, the one I just saw yesterday, VHS Halloween. And I gotta say, I really liked it. This is one of the best movies, with the exception of one segment that I absolutely detested. So, yeah, let's start off with the wraparound segment for this one. Diet Phantasma. While I was a little sad that they kind of moved away from the mockumentary presentation for the wraparound, as this is internal use only footage for some sort of massive conglomerate making their new diet soda, which is, as revealed at the end, a diet soda made from real poltergeists. So essentially the wraparound segment in this one is different focus groups or different test groups coming in, drinking a can of soda, and something just fucked up horrific happening as the evil corporate scientists stand behind the one-way glass and just observe what's happening. It's a lot of fun. It's like classic comedy, horror, Halloween fare. It feels perfect for this franchise and for what VHS Halloween is trying to do. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. Not at the level of like anything up here, but you know, it's really good. Solid A.
Gorgeous.
So following up the wraparound segment, we have Coochie Coochie Coo, which I really liked this one. I think the beginning starts off not as great as where it ends up, because you have like the cliche of one of the neighborhood kids taunting our two leads, these two girls who are way too old to go trick-or-treating but dress up as babies and decide to go trick-or-treating one last time. But a kid like scares them and then basically says like, watch out for like the witch mother, she'll take you and turn you into her children, which, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen now. But once they enter the haunted house, and the visual of the hand raising the basket, that's well shot. Like for a found foot, for anything, that looked great. But once they enter that haunted house, it's like Skinamarink. The door disappears and they're trapped inside and get chased by a man. Well, no, they're not getting chased by a man. They're getting chased by an old, decrepit, like witch mother thing that has like sagging breasts. And there's a whole, the reason I bring that up, because there's a whole like mother's milk thing going on here where she like captures people and forces them to drink her milk, which then turns them into like her thrall baby children, and like you lose yourself and become a baby. There's something about it, about this segment, really fucked with my head and fucked me up. Especially there's like a couple things in there that made me go, oh god. So I don't know, it was really effective for what it was doing. It really felt like great Halloween fare. You know, it takes place on Halloween night. They think it's like a neighborhood haunted house. It's a real haunted house. And then the mother's milk baby stuff it just got to me in a really visceral way. So yeah, Coochie Coochie Coo, A tier.
Gorgeous.
So after that disturbing segment, we get a disturbing in a different way segment from the director of the Rec series, the Spanish language found footage films. They're great, but he brings us our foreign language entry this time, our international entry, As Above, So Below. And the premise of this is a man is recovered amongst the dead bodies of his entire friend group who decided to, I don't know if they break into, but at least tour this notorious castle where years ago what people believed a psychic witch did something and died there and cursed the grounds. And so him and his friends go there and something happens, and you're essentially watching the at first police interview and then body cam follow-up of the supernatural events already happened. We're now the next day where the cops are involved trying to figure out what happened, which I think is a great starting point for any horror movie that we do not see enough. The Friday the 13th happened before the movie started, and now the cops are coming in trying to figure out what happened. Love that basis. Love that starting point. And it eventually leads to the cops creating a horror story hell of their own creation, where they bring the suspect there because based off of the way the bodies were left, they're like, one man couldn't have done this. He might not even have done this, or he had a partner. We need to figure out what's going on. And the survivor is very cagey and unsure about what to do. And so they bring him to the location where everyone died and recreate the events with the, it's great. They walk into this room and there was a phone that was ringing. Oh, right. Because the cops mentioned they recovered cell phone footage from that night too. So it's all intercut. So you get a good view of everything that happened both before and after. And, it shows you exactly what happened to all his friends, because the fate of his friends is the fate of all of the police who recreate the supernatural event that happened before this short even started. And I gotta say, it's very well filmed. It's all well done. It doesn't leave the found footage format too egregiously or anything. And the whole final supernatural thing that happens with the eyes and everyone falling to the ceiling and then falling back to the ground, It's really well done. It's great. I really liked it. It's a super well done, effective horror short, and I give it a very solid A. As above, so below, A tier.
Gorgeous.
Following that, we get a segment I was kind of excited for, but ended up kind of being a bit of a disappointment for me because Fun Size by Casper Kelly. He is the person who made Adult Swim's Yule Log, which I absolutely loved as like a weird Adult Swim horror, comedy, tragedy, dark drama thing. And Too Many Cooks. He makes really interesting, unique stuff. And so when I knew he was making a VHS segment, I was like, oh, that's going to be great. And the premise for it is interesting. It feels very kind of Casper Kelly. It's like a bunch of people are trick-or-treating or going around Halloween, and they come across a classic, pick one, only take one candy. And of course, one of our characters takes more than one. And because of that, the candy bowl comes alive and like sucks them into an alternate dimension where this weird, like supernatural, candy, evil, cartoon type entity exists who goes by the name Fun Size. And I mean, the design's great, the effects are great and all of that, but I found some of the humor in this kind of a bit too juvenile. Also, so the whole thing is that Fun Size is kidnapping people from another dimension, I think, and then putting them through a machine that gorily, violently rips them apart and turns them into candy, which was the candy that they ate earlier, meaning they ate people, I guess. And they're like, I don't know. And when I say juvenile, I mean like one of our characters gets cut up and you explicitly see like his dick and balls like go across a conveyor belt, get turned to candy. There's not really any logic here. You know immediately that everyone's doomed. Like even though they try to do like a subvert, like, oh, maybe our final girl escapes. You know she won't. You know she doesn't. The way that the male lead just constantly like juvenilely just keeps calling his fiance, oh, fiance, and never says her name.
Fiance, please!
Damn it!
I get what you're doing, but it was like too in my face and like, like that type of energy the entire time. It kind of got a little annoying. I don't know. Based off of, you know, Too Many Cooks and Yule Log and things like that, I was kind of expecting more than what was a kind of just straightforward slasher short with a weird interdimensional imp type evil demon as the slasher villain fucking with people. I don't know. I was hoping for more and I didn't, and I got less. So yeah, Fun Size for me, unfortunately, is C. Didn't fully work for me, dog, but you know, I still like Casper Kelly and I will be there for anything else he makes. So yeah, Fun Size, C tier. All right, now we get to the segment I was hinting at before that I detested. That, in my opinion, completely sucks the air out of the room and is a weird follow-up to the weird comediness of Casper Kelly, and then followed up by Home Haunt. Like, you get Kid Print right in the middle of those two segments, and they couldn't be further off in tone from one another. Honestly, this would be F if it wasn't so effectively well made and doing what I think exactly what it's doing. But oh man, talk about like tonal whiplash and like the feeling of, well, this isn't fun anymore, and oh, now I feel like bad and gross and just in a terrible headspace. Like, why would you do this? So the premise of Kid Print is in like the 90s, I believe, there's like kids going missing in this town, and this local videographer has a program where parents can come in and get video made of like their kid, their height, their weight, their name, what they look like, what they sound like, to give to police in case the child goes missing. Dark subject matter. And let me go ahead and say, there's no supernatural element to this. This is another VHS attempt at a snuff film or a snuff type thing. And because of that, that's what I mean when I say this isn't fun anymore. It's just sad, tragic. This is like the long walk. This is like going from Casper Kelly, like Fun Size Halloween, to fucking Guinea Pig or August Underground, or I mean, not a Serbian film. It's not as bad as that. But like in that tone where like you're watching having a good time, and then suddenly it's child rape and murder and abuse, and it's like, what is going on? So like the premise is like I said, local videographer. He has an assistant. The twist reveal at the end is that the assistant is the one who's been abducting and making all the kids disappear in this town, and has been like forcing them to stand in front of the sign, the kid print sign, until they slowly realize what's going on and get more and more scared. And like he's like a hardcore, just sadomasochistic serial killer that enjoys torturing children psychologically and physically, including an extended sequence where he fillets the skin off the back of a kid, and it's all on camera, and you're just like, wow, like, oh god, like, oh, this is distressing. And like I said, very well made, very effective for what it's trying to do. Why the hell is this in the middle of a VHS movie, specifically VHS Halloween, which I've been having a great fun time, like a great enjoying time the entire time. I've been having fun, great horror fare, great Halloween fare, and then this just nose bomb. Like, I don't need to be reminded of like child abduction and murder in a very realistic, disturbing, not leaving my head way. And like the ending being incredibly nihilistic, where he gets away with it and frames someone else, implying he's going to keep kidnapping and murdering these children. And just, like I said, I get it. I can appreciate the filmmaking behind this. That's why it's not F. That's why it's D. But the way it's like just kind of put in here out of nowhere and just sucks all the goodwill I had going for the movie that entire time. Kid print, D. Oh my god, I made it. Okay, drum roll please for our final VHS segment, Home Haunt. And when I say we're ending strong, I mean we're ending fucking strong. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I wanted out of VHS Halloween. A found footage horror segment that felt like kid Halloween legend. Like, okay, the basic premise of this is a father is trying to reconnect with his now teenage son, who, when his son was a child, absolutely loved the local haunted house he put on in his backyard. Now that the kid's a teen, you know, he hates it. It's beneath him. It's cringy. And the dad's trying to reconnect. So, you know, he builds the regular haunted house like he does every year, and then eventually forces the kid to tag along with him to a nice like antique shop where he's looking for, you know, props for his haunted house. And in a section marked off like do not go in there, not for sale, he finds and steals a weird looking, like clearly supernatural vinyl, and plays it that night when he opens it for the neighborhood. And that vinyl has music on it that turns the haunted house real. And what I mean by that is the ghosts that become real look like the Ghost Sheet ghosts. The witch that becomes real looks like the green witch thing. The zombies that become real look like the props. And it's great. It feels like an idea I would have, like walking around trick-or-treating when I was a kid. Like, what if everyone suddenly turned into their costumes? What if this haunted house I'm in did suddenly become real? Like, it feels like that. It's very joyous in its Halloween flair. It's super nostalgic for me too, because I live in a neighborhood that really fucks with Halloween and goes all out. Like, there's some houses around here that really do a great job putting up decorations, and God, I loved this one. I loved the ending. I loved the mouth of the haunted house becoming real at the end, at the very end. The witch, the final shot of the witch flying out and like murdering a bunch of children. I know we just came from that child murder, which is a completely different thing than like a comedy-esque like witch come alive. Like it's a real life child's like campfire story. But talk about a difference in tone. And this is so great. Kid print couldn't ruin it. So, I mean, Home Haunt, this is everything you want out of a VHS segment, especially a VHS movie called VHS Halloween. So I have no choice but to give Home Haunt our final segment and like our final punchline to credits, a well-deserving and thank God beautiful S tier. I did it. It's done. That's all 40-something VHS segments in a tier list, discussed and reviewed. That was, to be honest, this was a lot more work, stupidly, than I anticipated. So, that's the video. Here's an image of it. So, you know, if you want to statistic that shit up, go right ahead. Just at a quick glance, I think VHS 2 and VHS Halloween and Beyond look like to be some of the best split, but also 85. This is a lot more even segment-wise than I thought it would be. I thought like one might dominate, but you know, it seems pretty, I mean, other than F tier, it seems pretty like evenly distributed, which is honestly, I think, a really good sign for a anthology series. And I really hope VHS continues to run for years to come. I hope we at least get 2 more. Bringing the franchise to a solid 10 would be fun. I would love to see what VHS X is. And I would also like a return to a wraparound segment that is based around someone finding and watching actual VHS tapes, considering we haven't gotten that since VHS 2. But all the other wraparound segments are great. This franchise is a lot of fun. I'm kind of just repeating myself and mumbling, but it might be the greatest, longest running horror anthology series, in my opinion. Like, I know Creepshow, people love Creepshow, but as a meta storytelling found footage fan, this is my shit. This is great. This is a lot of fun, a lot of work. And I figured, you know, I loved Home Haunts so much, and I talked about living in a neighborhood that really fucks with Halloween, that a little show and tell might be in order. So before I say goodnight and a happy Halloween to everyone, enjoy this and have a great holiday if I upload this in time. So yeah, happy Halloween.
Oh Jesus. I bet this would look a lot better at night. Yeah, that's much better at night. Whoa, here's another one. Ooh.
Ooh, what's... Oh, jeez.
Now, this is what I mean when I say a neighborhood that fucks with Halloween.